Hey, welcome to another episode of Geek Money Life, where we talk about money and how to make sense out of your dollars. And so in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about being broke versus being poor and the mindsets between those two, because there's definitely a distinct difference between them. And a lot of times, if people think about being broke and poor, they might not think that there is a difference, and I myself didn't think there was a difference. But there definitely is a difference, and I'm going to go over each one of those. So let's start off with being broke, because I think a lot of people can relate with this. And so in general, being broke means that you either have very little money or no money at all. And this could be caused by a variety of things. You maybe don't have any way to gain any money, you don't have a job, or maybe you just lost your job, or maybe you have a business that's not doing so well. And so all of those things lead to the same outcome, which is less money for you. And so being broke is something that I think everybody's going to experience at one point in their life, and it really sucks to be broke. But the one thing that is consistent with being broke is it's normally a short-term or temporary thing. It's not something that's going to be there for the rest of your life. And so that is the main thing that I see whenever people talk about being broke and experiencing myself, is that this is a temporary thing. Now, being poor is very similar to being broke. So you have little to no money, but the big difference whenever you're poor is that this is like this for practically your entire life. You're just in this continuous state of not having enough money or no money at all, and you're always stressed and worried about how you're actually gonna survive, so it's more than just a temporary thing. This is a long-term thing that for most people is a lifetime, just completely being poor for your whole life. And I think that is the worst thing that could happen to you, because in this case, it's not temporary. And whenever you feel like you're going to come out of it, you just go through the same cycle of constantly being poor and unfortunately having a poor mindset. Okay, so now that we have a general definition of what being broke versus being poor is, let's go ahead and get into the mindset part, because I really feel this is the most important thing, and this is something that I've definitely experienced myself, and it is an ongoing challenging experience for a lifetime. So let's first start off with the broke mindset, because this is something that I didn't really understand until I was broke for a long period of time, and then I understood that being broke is not something that is permanent, even though at the time that I was broke, I thought it was permanent. And so that's kind of like the big difference in mindsets here, because whenever I was broke, it was really hard, it was challenging, it was very, very uncomfortable. But pretty much every time that I was broke, I eventually found a solution. And that is the key thing here. Whenever you have a broke mindset, it definitely is not something that you want to experience. But at the end, you're mostly going to find some type of solution so that you're no longer broke. And hopefully you would have learned from that so that you're not continually broke, which leads me to the poor mindset. So in the poor mindset, you're in this constant, never-ending cycle of being broke. And in this case, instead of trying to figure out solutions, you figure out ways to escape your overall environment and just constantly being poor. And so a lot of times people with poor mindsets would normally do poor people things, such as buying things that they cannot afford, whether that's a new car, a house, electronics, clothing, whatever it could be. It's more or less to help them not think about the state that they're in. And so this is an ongoing thing. They're constantly going from one thing to another, but they never address and fix the underlying problem of why they are poor and constantly broke in the first place. And quite often, having a poor mindset, especially if it's for a lifetime, this is something that is all related to one main thing, and that is your emotions. So quite often, the majority of humans in general do things based upon emotion. They take actions based upon these emotional things. And for people with a purely poor mindset, everything that they do, their decisions, is mainly based on their emotions and how they feel. And so it's not surprising that people who are in a poor mindset will be doing all of these things, because it makes them feel better about where they're at. And even though it is temporary, they need this constantly, because at the end of the day, they don't want to face their problems and figure out a real solution. And so that is the biggest difference that I see with a broke mindset versus a poor mindset, and how I feel if you do have a poor mindset and you don't get out of it, your whole life is going to be in this constant wheel of being broke, being in poverty, and just overall not taking care of the things that you should, so that you can have a better life and have a happier, non-broke, non-poor mindset. And now the final part of this video is, how do you get out of this broke and poor mindset? Well, for most people, being broke is something that's gonna happen to you, even if you have a lot of money, because there's definitely ups and downs in life. And so having a broke mindset, I don't think is a bad thing, because this is something that we're all gonna face, and life happens to everybody. And so this is something that is really unavoidable for the vast majority of people. However, having a poor mindset, constantly being broke, is something that you could actually work towards to either completely remove or have it affect you very little. And so some of the things that you could do to get out of the poor mindset is to change the way that you think about things. So for example, if you are broke and poor and you're feeling really crappy, and then you want to go out and buy something or do something when you definitely can't afford it, instead of doing that, why don't you think of other ways that you can use your time and money? And the best way that I could think about doing this is investing in things that will actually grow more money. And so a good example of this is learning new skills. And so you can learn new skills that you could bring to the market and adds value to the market, so that you could actually make more money. Or instead of spending all your time playing video games, watching movies, going to do things that really won't add anything to your life overall besides entertainment, you could use this time to learn a new skill, meet some new people, network, create businesses and assets that will actually generate more income. And so by taking that approach and shifting your mindset from just emotional things to more of logical and emotional, then you're going to be a lot better off, because you are using your time, energy, and money in ways that will actually improve your life and not keep you in the constant state of poverty. And so those are my thoughts of being poor versus being broke, and most importantly, the mindsets between those two. So if you actually had any thoughts on this, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. And if you did want to see more of my money videos, I do have an entire playlist. I'll leave that in the description area as well. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you on another episode of Geek Money Life.